The charred husks of 1,000 Vorkarian worlds smoldered in the void, justice delivered by the vengeful hands of mankind. Ex-Special Forces mercenary Darren Turner stalked through the shadowed corridors of the remote alien outpost, plasma rifle poised to burn through insectoid flesh. Intel from his industrialist backer placed Turner's kidnapped daughter deep within the Vorkarian stronghold. Turner had a debt to settle with the chitinous bastards. They took something precious from him once before. Never again. The mercenary paused outside the control room, monomolecular blade sliding from its sheath with a whisper. He would cut the truth from their bleeding thoraxes if he had to. Genetic profile is remarkable. Untapped potential. The key to our ascension. A guttural voice clicked from inside. We must begin extraction at once, Commander Knox. The human meat sack's DNA will make us gods. Turner's blade flashed, Vorkarian ichor spraying the bulkheads. He had all he needed. The girl was only the beginning. The bugs had big plans for little Jenny Lawson, plans mankind would burn the galaxy to ash to stop. Alarms shrieked as Turner sprinted toward the cell blocks, a rising buzz of insectoid wings and plasma fire filling the halls behind him. The mercenary's grip tightened on his rifle. He had a little girl to save and an alien empire to topple, and he was all out of mercy. Because when aliens steal our children, there is nowhere in the universe they can hide from humanity's wrath. We will shatter suns and raise worlds until our sons and daughters are safe in our arms once more, and the galaxies will tremble at our fury, now and forevermore. Turner shielded Jenny with his bulk as plasma bolts melted smoking holes through the bulkheads around them. The girl whimpered, tiny hand clutching his armor. Darren returned fire, his shots punching through chitin and flesh. He carved a bloody path through the screeching insectoids until the hangar lay before them. Ava, find me a ship and override the controls, Turner barked. On it, boss, the AI chirped in his mind. That dropship, I'll have the engines hot by the time you reach it. Darren sprinted up the ramp, energy blasts splashing off his armor's shields. He dumped Jenny into the co-pilot's chair. Buckle up, kid. It's going to be a bumpy ride. The dropship roared out of the hangar, plasma cannons shredding pursuing fighters. In the chaos of their escape, Jenny turned to him, tears streaking her face. They hurt me, mister. Stuck me with needles and made me run for hours. Said my genes were special, that I'd help them become more than bugs. Rage ignited in Darren's gut, fists clenching on the controls until the metal creaked. I won't let them touch you again, sweetheart, and I'll make every last one of those bastards pay. That's a promise. Hours later, Turner stalked through the pristine halls of the Sci-Fi estate, Jenny's tiny hand engulfed in his own. When the doors to Marcus's study whispered open, the billionaire leapt to his feet, sweeping the girl into a crushing hug. Lena, thank God you're safe, he breathed, tears gleaming on his cheeks. Turning to Darren, Sakai nodded. Thank you for bringing my daughter back to me, Mr. Turner. Don't thank me yet, Darren growled. We need to talk. The Vorkarians, they wanted Lena for her genes, said it would help them ascend, evolve. Some crazy shit. Pain flashed through Marcus's eyes and he sagged into his chair. You're not the first parent I've met with a story like that, I'm afraid. They took my son, Kai, 3 years ago. Never found a trace of him. The billionaire scrubbed a hand down his haggard face. I think you and I have a common enemy, Mr. Turner, and a shared cause. I have considerable resources at my disposal. Intelligence networks, political influence, advanced tech. You have the skills to put them to use. Sakai leaned forward. I want you to find my son wherever they're holding him. Dig up the Vorkarians' plans for our children, and I want you to burn those bugs right back to whatever hell they crawled out of. You do that, and I'll give you everything you need to bury them. Do we have a deal? Memories of Samantha's blood on his hands, her pregnant belly still beneath his fingers, flashed through Darren's mind. He met Marcus's gaze, his own hardening with deadly promise. Yeah, I reckon we do. In an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of New Houston, Darren paced before a line of stone-faced men and women, each one hand-picked for the mission ahead. Ex-special forces, hardened mercs, and cold-eyed killers, all united by their hatred for the chittering monsters that had taken something precious from them. "You all know why you're here," Turner growled, fists clenched at his sides. "The Vorkarian bastards have been stealing our kids, experimenting on them for God knows what, and the Council's been sitting on their hands, content to let it happen." Darren slammed a fist into his armored palm. "That ends now. We're going to hit those bugs hard and fast. We're going to find out what they want with our children, and we're going to make them pay for every drop of human blood they've spilled." As the team began their grim preparations, Ava's digital face flickered into view, her expression troubled. "Boss, I've been analyzing some of the data we pulled from the outpost. The abductions, they're not random. Every child they've taken has had specific genetic markers, rare sequences, and the rate of disappearances is increasing." A chill ran up Darren's spine as the implications sank in. This was bigger than he'd ever imagined. The Vorkarians weren't just snatching kids for sick experiments. They were searching for something locked in human DNA. And if they found it... "Ava, keep digging. I want to know everything about those markers, what they mean and why the bugs want them so badly." The AI nodded solemnly. "On it, boss." Turner turned back to his team, the weight of worlds settling on his shoulders. "Saddle up, people. We leave in an hour. It's time to show these alien freaks what happens when you fuck with humanity's children." The cloaked Vorkarian dropship drifted silently through the asteroid field, its matte black hull barely distinguishable from the surrounding space rocks. Inside, Darren Turner and his hand-picked team checked their gear, preparing for the infiltration ahead. "All right, listen up," Darren growled, his voice low and steady. "We've got one shot at this. Ava's intel places a major Vorkarian research facility in the heart of this asteroid. We get in, find out what those bug bastards are doing with our kids, and get out. Quick and clean." The team nodded, faces grim with determination. There was Zach, the hacker, his fingers dancing across the glowing keys of his cyber deck. Nadia, the sniper, her eyes cold and sharp as the rifle in her hands. Riggs, the demolitions expert, grinning like a madman as he cradled a bundle of explosives. And Dr. Ilara Morse, the xenobiologist, her delicate features belying a steel core. As they neared the asteroid, a flicker of movement caught Darren's eye. A squadron of sleek angular fighters detached from the shadows of a nearby rock, their cloaking fields shimmering like heat haze. "Shit, new model Vorkarian fighters," Darren snarled, wrenching the dropship into a sharp dive. "Ava, give me full power to engines and shields." The AI's digital face flickered on the console. "You got it, boss. Engaging evasive maneuvers." The dropship wove through the asteroids, plasma blasts from the pursuing fighters searing past the hull. Darren's hands flew across the controls, his reflexes honed by years of combat flying. With a final, gut-wrenching twist, he slipped the ship into a narrow crevasse on the asteroid's surface, the fighters streaking past overhead. "Smooth flying, boss," Zach said, his face pale. "Thought we were bug chow for a second there." Darren flashed a grim smile. "Not today, kid. Now let's get inside and find out what these chitinous freaks are hiding." The team split up as they infiltrated the facility, Riggs's explosives making short work of the outer defenses. Darren and Ilara moved silently through the dimly lit corridors, the xenobiologist's scanner sweeping for signs of life. "I'm picking up human biosignatures ahead," Ilara whispered, her voice tight. "A lot of them." As they approached the main labs, the reason for her distress became clear. Dozens of stasis pods lined the walls, each one containing the still form of a human child. Tubes and wires snaked from their bodies, connecting them to a central machine that pulsed with sickly green light. Ilara pressed a hand to the nearest pod, her face twisted with horror and rage. "Those monsters, they're trying to combine human and Vorkarian DNA, accelerated hybridization, but the process is unstable, fatal. These poor children." Darren's grip tightened on his rifle, knuckles white beneath his armor. "We're shutting this place down. Riggs, Zach, Nadia, report." "Charge is set, boss," Riggs's voice crackled over the comm. ready to blow this hellhole back to the Stone Age. Suddenly, alarms shrieked through the facility. Red light bathing the labs. Intruder alert, a grating electronic voice blared. All units converge on Sector 7. Fuck, they made us, Darren snarled. Riggs, light it up, we're getting the hell out of here. Darren and Alara sprinted through the crumbling halls, the xenobiologist's scanner guiding them away from the heaviest concentrations of Vorkarian soldiers. Alara's gaze darted to the pulsing sacks at the joints of a fallen insectoid's armor. With clinical precision, she fired a burst into the swollen nodes, the Vorkarian convulsing as viscous fluid sprayed across the floor. Target their pheromone glands, she called out, already moving to the next soldier. It disrupts their coordination, leaves them vulnerable. Darren nodded, adjusting his aim. The air filled with the acrid tang of ruptured glands and sizzling chitin as they cut a path to the extraction point. But as they burst into the hangar, Darren's heart sank. Zack, Nadia and Riggs crouched behind a tangle of crates, pinned down by the relentless plasma fire of Nox's elite guards. The Vorkarian commander himself stood at the center of the maelstrom, his armor glinting beneath the strobe of warning lights. "Get to the ship!" Darren roared, shoving Alara towards the waiting dropship. "I'll hold them off." The team hesitated, anguish and defiance warring on their faces. But the cold equations of war were merciless. The information they carried was too precious to lose. Humanity's very future hung in the balance. "Go!" Darren growled, his voice brooking no argument. "Complete the mission. I'll buy you as much time as I can." As the dropship lifted off, its engines straining against the pull of the asteroid's meager gravity, Darren Turner turned to face the onrushing tide of Vorkarian soldiers. Plasma bolts scored smoking furrows in his armor, his shield sparking and sputtering under the onslaught. But he stood firm, a lone human against the might of an alien war machine. Commander Nox strode forward, glossy eyes glittering with malice. "Foolish primate," he chittered, mandibles clacking. "You only delay the inevitable. Your species will be consumed, your genetic secrets laid bare. There is no escape from the Vorkarian ascendancy." Darren smiled, a cold and terrible thing, as he raised his rifle to his shoulder. "Maybe, but not today, you chitinous son of a bitch. Not while I still draw breath." And with a defiant roar, he charged into the seething mass of insectoid bodies, the barrel of his rifle blazing, like the heart of a newborn star. He would make the bugs pay for every inch of ground, every drop of human blood. Plasma bolts seared the air, the stench of ozone and scorched chitin choking Darren's lungs. His rifle clicked empty, the magazine spent. Tossing it aside, he drew his monomolecular blade, the edge glinting in the strobe of emergency lights. Nox's elite guards closed in, plasma swords humming with deadly energy. Suddenly the asteroid shuddered, a deep, bone-rattling tremor that sent soldiers and scientists alike stumbling. A heartbeat later, a massive explosion bloomed in the heart of the facility, a searing wave of heat and debris washing over the hangar. "Riggs, you magnificent bastard," Darren thought, a feral grin splitting his face. "You did it!" Seizing the moment of chaos, Darren lunged forward, his blade flashing. He carved a path through the disoriented Vorkarians, their ichor spraying the walls. A fallen soldier's plasma rifle caught his eye, and he scooped it up, the weapon molding to his grip like an old friend. Darren burst into the hangar, rifle spitting bolts of searing energy. But his stride faltered as a lone figure emerged from the smoke and ruin. Nox stood tall, his glossy black carapace unmarred by the destruction that raged around him. In his hand, a plasma sword glowed with malevolent purpose. "You fight well for a primate," Nox chittered, mandibles clacking. "But you are too late. The process has already begun. Soon our hybrid army will rise, and the galaxy will tremble before the might of the ascendancy." Darren snarled, a primal sound of rage and defiance. He charged forward, monomolecular blade colliding with Nox's plasma sword in a blaze of sparks. They danced a deadly waltz across the hangar floor, blades flashing and clashing, neither giving ground. "You think you can steal our children? Twist them into abominations and we'll just roll over?" Darren growled, locking blades with the Vorkarian commander. Humanity won't rest until every last one of you bug bastards is nothing but a smoking smear on the galaxy's boot heel." Nox's compound eyes glittered with a cold alien amusement. "And what of young Kai Sakai? Would you abandon him to his fate, condemn him to live out his days as a prisoner of the Ascendancy?" Darren's heart clenched, the image of Marcus's haunted eyes flashing through his mind. With a roar of determination, he surged forward, his blade moving in a silver blur. Nox's sword arm fell to the deck, ichor spurting from the severed stump. The Vorkarian commander staggered back, mandibles quivering. Darren leveled his blade at the alien's throat, the point dimpling the glossy chitin. "Where is Kai?" he demanded, his voice cold as the void. "What other facilities are you bugs hiding? Give me the truth or I'll carve it out of your twitching corpse." Nox stared at him, compound eyes inscrutable. Then slowly he began to speak, the information spilling from his clacking mandibles like a contemptuous gift. Darren listened, committing every word to memory, but the distant thunder of Vorkarian reinforcements echoed through the ruined base, growing closer with each passing second. Darren stepped back, leaving Nox to the mercy of the encroaching explosions. "This isn't over," he promised, his voice hard as steel. "Not while a single human child remains in your clutches." Then he was running, leaping into the nearest Vorkarian fighter. The ship lurched drunkenly into the air, Darren wrestling with the unfamiliar controls. But he'd been flying since he could walk. The fire soon steadied, screaming out of the hangar and into the star-strewn void. As Darren guided the ship towards the rendezvous coordinates, his mind raced with the revelations Nox had spilled. The sheer scope of the Vorkarians' plan chilled him to the bone. But now, at last, they had a lead. A chance to strike back, to save the stolen children and the future of the human race. He opened a comm channel, the faces of his team flickering into view. Grim, battered, but alive. Darren met each of their gazes in turn, a fire kindling in his heart. "Nox gave up the location of their main research hub," he said, his voice ringing with purpose. "That's where they'll be holding Kai and the others. We're going to burn that place to the ground and bring our people home." Faces hardened with determination, the team nodded as one. The fight was far from over, but now they had a chance to strike at the heart of the Vorkarian Ascendancy and shatter their twisted designs. The fate of Earth, of the galaxy itself, hung in the balance, and Darren Turner would be damned if he let humanity's future go without a fight. Darren's fingers danced across the controls of the stolen Vorkarian fighter as he set course for the nearest research facility. The coordinates Nox had spilled burned in his mind, a roadmap to the stolen children and the twisted heart of the aliens' experiments. "Eva, patch me through to the team," he said, jaw tight. The AI's digital face flickered on the console. "Connection established, boss." Ilara, Zack, and Riggs' faces filled the screen, exhaustion and determination etched into their features. "Listen up," Darren said, his voice hard as steel. "We've got the locations of the Vorkarian research hubs. We're going to hit them fast and hard, free the kids, and burn those bug bastards to ash." In a flurry of plasma fire and screaming alarms, Darren and his team carved a path of destruction through facility after facility. They moved like vengeful ghosts, striking without warning and leaving only ruin in their wake. Cages shattered, restraints snapped, and children stumbled into the light, blinking away tears as they were ushered to safety. But with each raid the resistance grew fiercer, the Vorkarians more desperate to protect their vile work. Nox's elite guards swarmed like angered hornets, their plasma swords humming with deadly intent. As they closed on the final facility, the one that held Kai Sakai, the very air seemed to shudder with the fury of the aliens' defense. Plasma bolts stitched the walls, chewing through metal and flesh alike. Nadia, her sniper rifle barking defiance, fell in a spray of blood, her life given to buy the others a precious few seconds more. Riggs, his face a mask of grim determination, shouldered past Darren, a bundle of explosives cradled in his arms. "I'll draw their fire," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Get to Kai. Finish this." Before Darren could protest, the demolitions expert was sprinting down the corridor, a one-man army against the tide of chitinous horrors. The roar of the explosions shook the very foundations of the facility, Vorkarian screams mixing with the thunder of collapsing metal. Darren, Alara and Zack pushed forward, their hearts heavy with the weight of their fallen comrade's sacrifice. They breached the inner sanctum, plasma rifles raised, only to stumble to a halt at the sight before them. Kai Sakai stood in the center of the room, his once human form twisted almost beyond recognition. Chitinous plates covered his skin, his eyes glinting with an inhuman intelligence. Tubes and wires snaked from his body, connecting him to a pulsing organic machine that dominated the far wall. And there, standing beside him with a smile of cruel triumph, was Nox. "Welcome, Darren Turner," the Vorkarian commander chittered, his mandibles twitching with amusement. "You have fought well for a primate, but you are too late. Behold the future of the Ascendancy, the perfect fusion of human and Vorkarian, a soldier to lead our armies to glory." Nox gestured to the shadows, and Lena stumbled forward, her eyes wide with fear. Bruises marred her delicate skin, her wrists chafed raw from restraints. "Our choice lies before you, human," Nox said, his voice dripping with malice. "Join us and together we will rule the galaxy. Resist and watch as your precious Kai spills his own sister's blood." Kai's head twitched, his gaze locked on Lena. His arm rose, fingers twitching as if fighting some internal battle. Lena whimpered, tears streaking her face. "Kai," Darren said, his voice soft but urgent, "this isn't you. You're not their puppet, not anymore." For a heartbeat, Kai wavered, his eyes flickering with a spark of humanity. Then, with a roar of defiance, he lunged not for Lena, but for Nox. The two crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs and flashing blades, ichor spraying the walls. Darren seized his chance. He sprinted for the pulsing machine, his fingers flying over the controls. Warnings flashed, alarms shrieked, but he ignored them all, his focus narrowed to a single desperate goal. The power core, the heart of the vile experiments. He had to destroy it, shatter the Vorkarians' ambitions into 1,000 pieces, even if it meant burying Kai and Nox in the rubble. Alara, seeing his intent, grabbed Lena, pulling her towards the exit. Zack joined them, his face pale but determined. Darren's finger hovered over the final sequence, his heart a leaden weight in his chest. In the corner of his eye he saw Kai and Nox, still locked in their deadly embrace. "I'm sorry," he whispered to Kai, to the fallen, to the innocents lost. Then, with a final defiant cry, he stabbed down on the controls. The world erupted into fire and shrieking metal. Explosions ripped through the facility, the very air shimmering with heat. Darren ran, lungs burning, dodging falling debris and gouts of flame. He burst into the cool night air, joining Alara, Zack and Lena as they fled the crumbling horror behind them. But Kai and Nox did not follow. The facility collapsed in on itself, a final thunderous roar that seemed to shake the very stars above. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of flames and the distant wail of alarms. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.